right, today we're here in a 1967 Volvo Amazon 122S, known as the Amazon for the rest of the world, 122 here in America. This is the wagon form. It's finished in an awesome green color. It's a semi-restored car that was daily driven for a long time and is now part of a collection. It's powered by a 2.0 liter B20 engine, up from the B18 of previous years. And that's being fed by two SU carburetors, which have recently replaced the Webers that a previous owner had installed. It's got a 4-speed stick shift with a Laycock de Normanville overdrive unit, which is a highly desirable addition to this car, as we'll find out when we start driving in a minute. The gear ratios mean that once you're over about 60, you really need that overdrive. The car is extremely roomy on the inside. You can see the metal dash, a huge steering wheel. It's just a real blast from the past. There are all these awesome details that stand out as something that, you know, someone who's a little older might have gotten used to, but for me, they're a bit of a surprise. I mean, one of them is just the seatbelt buckle is held in this awesome seatbelt buckle holder thingy. And then you slide it down and it has the most satisfying click as it goes in. And then there are these little levers that control it when you want to release it. The horn works on the side, not the button in the center. The whole thing is just hilarious. Look at these controls. The challenge for me is going to be getting it to start. I'm not used to driving a car with a choke, but let's give it a try. Clutch in, choke about halfway out because I did drive it here. Crank it over. We're going. Neutral. The question is, will we idle? Got the choke out about halfway. It seems to be all right. The emergency brake is an awesome lever on this side. Let it out. You'll definitely notice the gear shifter travel is so far that it sounds like something is clunking when you shift it into first, but it's really just the lever hitting the climate control system, if you can call it that. But the car is actually surprisingly fun to drive. No power steering, obviously, but it does have disc brakes up front. And it's peppy. This little 2.0 liter engine would have maybe made 95 horsepower when it was new. Now it's been rebuilt relatively recently in the last couple of years. The odometer reads 27,695 miles, but that almost certainly is not accurate. It's only got 5 digits, so it could be much higher, or it could be accurate. The exterior is actually in pretty good shape, as you can see. And the car itself, it just feels solid. It feels like it's from another era when things were built differently. The solid rear axle gives it actually a bit of sportiness on the rear end. It's got great turn-in somehow. That could be partially thanks to some Bilstein shocks that were installed. So we're going 60 now. You can tell the engine's getting a little loud. We're going a little uphill. We'll put the clutch in. Pull on the turn signal stalk, this little light lights up, and that's how we know we're in overdrive. You can tell the revs went a little lower. There's no tachometer. You do it entirely by sound, and that's sort of part of it. It's all this visceral experience. I'm having to talk very loudly over the sound of the engine. There's creaks and rattles from the back. The tailgate, once you get on anything other than smooth road, definitely makes a lot of noise. The windshield wipers are tiny and hilarious. I don't even know if they work. Maybe they do? Oh, they do! Ah, there's even a jet! Amazing. Let's downshift here. Overdrive off, turn left. The brakes leave a lot to be desired, but here we go. Oh, I shifted into fourth and not second. That's part of the problem with this super long travel gear shifter is second to third is easy, but downshifting, not so much. Really though, this car is not about sporty driving. Even though Volvo did, once upon a time, market their cars as being sporty, reliable, and of course safe. The company that invented the seatbelt and then didn't patent the idea because they would prefer to save lives rather than make a few $1 trillion. Can you imagine Fiat Chrysler doing that these days? I don't think so. But here we are cruising along at just over 60. The speedometer itself is a hilarious horizontal bar that travels across the MPH gauge. I just don't understand how they did that, but it looks great with the nice horizontal dash. It sort of matches. Now I'm going to downshift out of overdrive. There we go. Now I've got enough power going up this hill. Is it going to blow anyone away? Definitely not. But this is just fun. The steering wheel is so wide because we don't have power steering. And the engine actually, you know, I'm not even close to flooring it. I'm just cruising it. It's cold outside today, and the coolant temp is indicating that it's not quite fully warm, even though it's been cruising. We don't know whether that gauge is accurate or not. We're at the top of the hill. Clutch in, overdrive back on. You can hear it better. Another fun detail, the headlights dimmer switch is a pedal that you push with your foot. Why is that? Nobody knows. I don't even know how to turn on the headlights. I don't think I would feel comfortable driving this car at night, but then again, maybe I'm wrong. Clutch in, overdrive off again as we come into some curves here. Should I really push it hard? I don't think so. But, you know, we can get a little bit of... I don't know. It's fun, but it's definitely not like you're in control of the car as it goes around the curve. And we are not going fast. We're going 40. The suspension system uses canard bars. I don't think it has sway bars. Maybe you can use them because there's definitely plenty of body roll. But the initial turn-in and the brakes are pretty good. Should I have downshifted there? Probably, but I'm not driving this thing to go hard. I'm driving it to have fun. And that's what this car is all about. You know, collectors aren't buying these cars these days because they want to go fast. They're doing it for Sunday cruises and cars and coffee. And the owner of this car told me he took it to a Malibu Cars and Coffee event and was just surrounded. And he's got some pretty nice sports cars that he takes out on a daily basis. And this car, he says, gets the most thumbs up. Everyone's happy when they see it. And it's actually a surprisingly comfortable car to drive. It's got enough power, and it's soft enough in town. You can have a little bit of fun with it. But the big problem is no AC. You know, you could get a vintage air system that would allow you to have some sort of climate control other than just opening up vents to the engine bay and quarter windows, which that doesn't look functional. Alright, we're going to turn overdrive off again, into fourth, into third, into second, and into neutral. And that's just a quick drive in what is undeniably a fun car that feels nothing like anything on the road today. You know, is it worth spending $5,000 to $10,000 to get one that's in okay shape, and then another $5,000 to $10,000 fixing it up to make it a reliable daily driver? Well, if I had the money, I might, but I certainly don't. Whether or not this owner's actually going to keep this car for a long time depends on how he feels about the rest of his collection. But I think on a website like Bring a Trailer, or just drive it up to Malibu and park it on the PCH with a for sale sign, there's a good chance he could get some pretty good money for this thing. You know, low 20s I think would be feasible, just because of the shape of the interior and exterior. And you know, he would be breaking even at that point, but it's more about the fun than the investment potential for this car. You know, this is not vintage Ferrari where you're getting a steal and then you can flip it immediately for $100,000. This is just a fun cruiser. It would be great in a beach town, hauling surfboards, that kind of thing. Maybe up in Topanga where the license plate surrounds are from. But as things go, it's hard to believe that a car that's over a half-century old can still be so fun to drive. We're going to put the choke all the way in and see if it'll idle on its own now that we've driven for a little while. And this is the final test. Choke is all the way in. Seems to be idling happy. Alright. Well, I didn't break the car either, so that's a huge plus. I think that's a good point to stop it for the day.